Cold Reckoning presents. He laughed at her in front of everyone. Not behind her back, to her face, in a room full of people who watched and said nothing. She didn't flinch. She didn't cry. She picked up her pen, closed her notebook, and said 2 words. "You're right." She was lying, and she knew it the moment she said it. That night, she sat at her kitchen table at 1:47 a.m. Laptop open, coffee cold, and she made a decision that would take 2 years to fully execute. She was not going to fight him. She was not going to prove him wrong out loud. She was going to disappear, and come back as something he couldn't argue with. Her name was Sarah. She had spent 4 years building a methodology nobody in her industry had thought to build. A framework that solved the exact problem every company in her space complained about. But nobody had ever sat down and actually fixed. She had the data. She had the case studies. She had a pitch deck that was, honestly, one of the best things she had ever made. And she had made the mistake of showing it to Marcus, her manager, her mentor, the person she trusted most in the building. He had looked at it for 6 minutes. Then he looked at her, and he laughed. Not a short laugh, not an uncomfortable one. A long, settling laugh, the kind that means the person laughing feels completely secure in their position. "Sarah," he said, "this is a passion project. This is not a business. You don't have the relationships, you don't have the profile, you don't have the room." 3 things she didn't have. She wrote all 3 down that night at 1:47 a.m., underlined each one, and started building. Stop what you're doing right now and subscribe to Cold Reckoning. Because what she did next is one of the most precise, patient acts of silent construction we have ever documented. Month 1, she did not quit her job. She needed the salary, the access, and the invisibility. She used all 3. She worked her regular hours perfectly. No complaints, no absences, no reason for anyone to look at her twice. And every evening from 7 p.m. to midnight, she built. Month 2, her first case study. Not a client yet. A simulation. She took a failing campaign from public data, ran it through her framework, and documented what would have happened. The results were so clean, she almost didn't believe them. She ran it again, same result. Then a 3rd time with different data, same result. The framework wasn't a theory anymore. It was a proof. Month 3, her first real email. 1 line, no pitch, no deck. Just a question to a marketing director she had never met. "I've been looking at your Q3 conversion data from the public filing. I think I know why it dropped. Would you give me 20 minutes? The director replied in 4 hours. Said yes. That meeting lasted 90 minutes. At the end, the director said, "What would it cost to have you fix this?" Sarah named a number. Her hands were shaking under the table. The director didn't blink. She signed her first contract on a Wednesday afternoon. In a coffee shop, 2 blocks from the office, where Marcus had laughed at her. She told no one. She went back to her desk. She answered 3 emails. She attended a 4 p.m. meeting. She smiled at Marcus in the hallway. And that evening, she opened a bottle of wine alone at her kitchen table. And cried for 20 minutes. Not from sadness, but from the specific relief of being right when it matters. The silence was the strategy. Every person she didn't tell was a person who couldn't doubt her before she was ready. Every milestone she kept private was a milestone that couldn't be argued with, undermined, or managed. She was building a room, and she was not letting anyone in until the room was finished. Drop a comment right now. Have you ever built something in complete silence? Tell us what it was. We read every single one. Month 7, 3 clients. She gave notice on a Friday. Her manager, not Marcus, a different one, asked if everything was okay. She said yes. She said she was pursuing something of her own. He wished her luck. Marcus heard through the office grapevine. He sent a message that said, "Heard you're going out on your own. Brave. Good luck." She read it. Did not reply. Not out of anger. She just had nothing to say to him that the work wouldn't say better. Month 11, a journalist emailed her. A writer, covering innovation in sustainable marketing, had seen her case studies circulating in 3 different industry Slack groups. She wanted to profile her. Sarah said yes. She answered every question with data. The article ran 6 weeks later. The headline was 14 words. It contained her full name, her company name, and the phrase, "the methodology changing how brands convert." It was shared 3,400 times in the first 48 hours. It was picked up by 2 industry newsletters, with a combined readership of 90,000 people. It appeared in the LinkedIn feeds of every person in her former office, including Marcus. He did not like the post. He did not comment. He clicked the link, read the article, and closed the tab. She found out because a mutual colleague told her, not maliciously, just the way people tell you things. "Did you see Marcus saw your article? He went quiet for the rest of the day." She found out and she felt almost nothing, which was the most satisfying feeling she had ever had. 2 years after the laugh, here is what the passion project had become. 11 clients, $890,000 in annual revenue. A team of 5, a 14-week waitlist, 7 speaking invitations in the calendar year. The methodology Marcus had called unprofessional was now the intellectual property at the center of a firm that clients were waiting months to access. The relationships he said she didn't have, she had built them, one cold email at a time, one 90-minute meeting at a time. The room he said she couldn't get into, she had built her own room, and now people were asking her for a seat in it. She was asked in an interview what drove her to start. She said, "I saw a problem nobody was solving, and I was certain I could solve it." The interviewer asked if she'd had support from people around her when she began. She smiled, said, "I had something better than support. I had absolute privacy." Subscribe to Cold Reckoning and share this with someone who is building something right now that nobody knows about yet. Marcus sent one final message. 14 months after the article, after the waitlist, after the speaking invitations. It said, "I've been thinking about our old conversation. I think I underestimated what you had. I'd love to catch up if you're ever open to it." She read it on a Tuesday between 2 client calls, thought about it for 3 minutes, opened a new tab, confirmed the details for a keynote she was delivering in 6 weeks, closed that tab, forgot to respond to Marcus entirely. Not as a power move, not as a statement, she was just busy. She had always been too busy to perform revenge. That was the whole point. He had told her she'd never make it. She had simply made it, and forgotten to tell him. The work told him. The article told him. The waitlist told him. The keynote told him. She never had to say a word. She never needed to. That is Cold Reckoning. Subscribe. Share this with someone building in silence. New story tomorrow. He laughed. She closed her notebook. She went home. She worked until 2 a.m., and 2 years later, his phone lit up with her name in a headline, and he closed the tab. Because some things you can't argue with. You can only close the tab and sit with what you chose.